Dear students, welcome back. So let's continue our chapter, that is physics of semiconductor, and probably today is the last class and I'm going to take the Hall's effect. Hall was an American scientist and who gave an idea how to calculate the concentration of the electrons or the holes, that is we can say the charge carrier per unit volume. Calculating the charge carrier per unit volume otherwise is a very difficult process. Even if you are going to calculate theoretically or with the other experiment, it's a very difficult, but he made it very simple, right? So first let us try to understand what is the Hall effect, and then we'll calculate the charge carrier density, that is the number of the charge carrier per unit volume, and then finally we'll be calculating the Hall coefficient both for the intrinsic semiconductor and extrinsic semiconductor, that is for the again for the n-type semiconductor and p-type semiconductor. So now let us start with. So first let us see what is the Hall effect. Now let us consider any specimen. This specimen can be your semiconductor, it can be the metals, it can be the extrinsic semiconductor, it can be the intrinsic semiconductor, right? So any type of the material I have taken. So this is the length, that this part that you are saying, let us suppose this is the length and I'm representing this length, let us suppose by L. This is the breadth, this is your breadth, and let us suppose I'm calling that as your D, and this is the thickness, and this thickness I am let us suppose calling as T. Now what we are going to do, along the length of this specimen, we have applied a potential, as you can see over here. This is the potential that we have applied, and along the length we are going to apply a certain current. So current is passing along the length of this semiconductor. Let us suppose along its thickness, that is as you can see here, this is the thickness, right? This is the thickness. So along its thickness, let us suppose we have applied the magnetic field, right? Then Hall calculated that along its breadth, a voltage is getting developed, and that voltage is called your Hall voltage. So if you are taking this is your breadth, so along this breadth a voltage is going to develop, and that voltage is called your Hall voltage, right? And using the Hall voltage, the other calculation has been done. So let us see what the exactly definition is. When a magnetic field is applied to a current carrying conductor in a direction perpendicular to the flow of the current, that is, as you can see, let us suppose again with the simple figure I am showing you. Let us suppose this is your current carrying conductor. So here this is the direction in which we have given the current, and perpendicular to this I have given the magnetic field. So let us suppose this is your x-axis, this is your y-axis, right? Perpendicular to this we have given the magnetic field. So this is the direction of the current that has been given, right? And this is the direction of the magnetic field that have been given. Same thing as we represented in the above diagram also. Then Hall calculated the perpendicular to both of them, right? A voltage is getting developed, and that voltage is called a Hall voltage. So this is the perpendicular to x and y, this is your z. So along the z direction a voltage is getting developed, and that voltage is called Hall voltage. So what we can say over here is, if this is the length along which you have given your current, right? This is the breadth along which you have given the magnetic field. You can say B is represented by B or H, the magnetic field. Then along its thickness which has been shown in the above diagram, along its thickness, that will be coming along the z-axis, right? A voltage is getting developed, and that voltage is called your Hall voltage. So that is the definition of your Hall voltage, right? Or this phenomenon is called Hall effect, right? Same thing I have written over here. Consider a material, either a semiconductor or conductor, as shown in the figure. When a voltage is applied, electric current starts flowing through the positive x direction, that is from left to right, as I have taken in that figure. The magnetic field is applied to this current carrying conductor or semiconductor in the direction perpendicular to that of the flow of the current, that is we have applied in the z direction, right? In which we have applied the magnetic field. An electric field is produced in it to exert a force in the negative y direction, that is the downward. This phenomenon is known as the Hall effect. So what here I have written, slightly I have changed I'm saying that along the third direction electric field is getting created. So naturally, if the electric field is getting created, then electric field is going to develop a voltage, and that voltage is called your Hall voltage, right? So this phenomenon is called your Hall effect. Hall was named after Hall effect was named after an American physicist, Edwin Hall. It was his name, who discovered the phenomenon in 1879. This phenomenon of the Hall effect was discovered. So now let us use this effect and let's calculate what is the value of your that is the expression of your carrier concentration. Alright, so same thing again I am writing over here. When a magnetic field is applied in a direction transverse to the current direction, a potential difference appear across the direction perpendicular to the both the current and the magnetic field. So naturally that is going to be perpendicular to the both, right? So if the one direction you have applied the current, perpendicular to that you have applied the magnetic field, then perpendicular to the both a voltage has developed, and that voltage is called your Hall voltage, or this effect is called your Hall effect. The transfer voltage is called your Hall voltage. The origin of Hall voltage is the Lorentz force that act on the charge. Let us try to understand this. Let us suppose here we have any semiconductor, right? Or even it may be the conductor, it may be anything, right? We can have the intrinsic semiconductor, we have the extrinsic semiconductor, anything, right? So let us suppose here in this is the direction in which the current is flowing. As you can see here, this is the direction in which the current is flowing. So I have just taken one small cross section of that full specimen which you have seen in the slide number 1, right? So this is the direction in which the current is flowing. Perpendicular to this you have applied the magnetic field. So this is the magnetic field that we have applied, right? So under the action of this magnetic field, what is going to happen? The charge, that is the negative charge and positive charge, will get separated out, right? So negative charge will start moving in one direction and positive charge will start moving in other direction. So if you are taking the semiconductor, so in case of the semiconductor you have the electrons and then you have the holes, right? So electrons and holes will be separated out. So this is what I have shown over here. So electrons and holes have been separated out. So positive charge has gone at one end because of the magnetic field that we have applied, and the electric field has that is a negative charge, that electron has gone to the other end. So naturally electric field is going to develop in this. So the direction of the electric field is always from positive to negative charge. So this is the value of the electric field that has been developed across this. Similarly, if we have taken the, let us suppose the other type of the semiconductor, that is the p type of the semiconductor, then again the electron will go on one side and holes will come on the other side, as you can see in this diagram. So naturally here the direction of the electric field is from positive to negative. So this is the direction of your electric field. So here the two type of the force is acting. One force is acting because of the magnetic field. So what is the force which is acting because of the magnetic field? This force is your EV into B, right? EVD into B, where VD is the dip velocity with which it was moving, right? And B is the magnetic field that we have applied. Right, so this is the one force you must be knowing, F equal to Q V cross B, right? So that is the force which act, and other force is F equal to Q into E. So this is the other force that is acting on this, that is F equal to Q into E. So the two type of the force is acting, right? If these two type of the force are going to balance, right, then this electron are going to settle like this. So what will happen? The electron will make a trajectory like this, and moment this value of the value of EH and this E V and B is going to be equal, this will stop there. So in this way they are going to stop at the end. At the end of this they have stopped, and in this way a charge has got separated. Right. So what I am going to tell you over here is, here we have got the two force. One force is due to your magnetic field that has been developed, and another force is due to the electric field that has got developed. Right. So let us see the magnetic force acting on the charge deflect the charge carriers in the direction perpendicular to the direction of the velocity. Right, so as you can see, this is the direction in which it is moving, and then the charge is getting deflected perpendicular to this. This is how the charge is getting deflected. This lead to the charge separation because of which an electric field appears across the strip. So what is happening? The positive charge has taken at one end and the negative charge has taken another end, and because of this an electric field has been created. The bending of the trajectory stops when the force due to the electric field balances due to the magnetic field. So naturally what is happening? The electron, as I had told you, will start bending like this, and this bending is going to stop moment the value of your electric field is equal to your value of your magnetic field, right? F equal to Q into E is your electric field, and F equal to Vd into B is your magnetic field. So if these two forces are going to be equal, then the trajectory will stop, right? So the bending of the trajectory stops when the force due to the electric field balances due to the magnetic field. That is the force, the forces being in the opposite direction, their magnitude are equal, right? So as you can see, the force which is acting are in the opposite direction, and therefore its magnitude are equal, right? So this is the basic concept of your Hall effect, and using this concept only, that is whatever I have explained you, this is the things that I am going to use to derive the number of the charge carrier mathematically. So let us look into it. So Lorentz force acting on the particle is equal to, that is your magnetic field is called your Lorentz force, F equal to Q V B cross V. So B is your magnetic field and V is your drip velocity. Naturally, as I told you, the B and Vd are perpendicular to each other. So what we can write here, we can write sine theta, and theta is equal to your 90 degree. So this value you are getting is equal to E B Vd. Right, so this is the value of your Lorentz force that is acting on this. What is the value of the electric field? F equal to Q into E. So what is the Q? Q is the charge of the electron. So E and value of the magnetic field that has been developed is called your value of the electric field that has been developed is called Hall electric field, because this has been created because of the magnetic field, right? And so therefore we are calling this electric field equal to E into EH, right? Naturally these two value of the force are going to equal, so we can equate the equation 1 and 2, and if you are going to equate this equation 1 and 2, what you are getting? EH equal to B V D. If D be the width of the material, so the first slide, the width I had taken as the D and thickness I has taken as the T, length I has taken as the L. So D is the width of the material. The Hall electric field developed across the crystal will be equal to EH equal to VH upon D. This is the value of the electric field. This is the voltage that is being developed, right? So EH is the electric field that has been developed. So how much the Hall voltage is getting developed? So this voltage is a new voltage, and the voltage that is going to develop will equal to your VH upon D, where D is the thickness. That is whatever the material you have taken across that material. So let us suppose this is the material that you have taken. So across this material, the voltage if this is the thickness D, then voltage across this that has got developed is your V, right? And we are calling this a Hall voltage, so we are calling as VH. So this is the voltage that has been developed. How this voltage has been developed? Because here you have the positive charge, here you have the positive charge, here you have the negative charge, here you have the negative charge, and because of this an electric field has got developed, right? And this electric field will call E into H, right? And because of this a voltage has got developed. If D is the thickness of this, if this is your D, then EH equal to VH upon D. This is the value of the voltage that has been developed across this. Alright, so now what we can do, we can equate equation number 3 and equation number 4. Here also we have the EH, and next also we have got the EH, so we can equate these two equations. And by equating this equation, what I have done, I have calculated value of Hall voltage. So this was our requirement. What will be the value of the whole Hall voltage? So Hall voltage is equal to B Vd, V equal to your drip velocity into the thickness, right? So this is your Hall voltage. So what we require to do now, let's calculate what is the value of your drip velocity in a semiconductor or conductor, right? Whatever you are taking, and substitute that value and calculate what is your final Hall voltage, right? So current density across an specimen, as we have already seen, J equal to I by A. So I, this is your I, by A is nothing, is a is equal to your thickness into the breadth, right? So this is the cross sectional area that we have taken. So D into T is the area of cross section that we have taken over there. So this is your current density J, where D is the width of the crystal and T is the thickness at that point. So now we know that J is equal to Ne into Vd. This is what we have already derived in case of a semiconductor or conductor, right? So current density J is equal to Ne into Vd, right? So what we can do here, we have got the equation number 6 and equation number 7. So equate these two equations, right? So this is what I by equating I can say. And what now finally what I have done, I have calculated the value of Vd. So this is your drift velocity, and this drift velocity is required to be substituted in equation number 5, right? So substitute this value in your equation number 5, and then finally what we are getting, Hall voltage we are getting, and the Hall voltage is equal to Bi upon T into Ne, right? So B, we know what is the value of B, we know what is the magnetic field that we are giving, what is the current that I have given, what is the thickness that is there, how much voltage has got developed, what is the charge on the electron that we know. So knowing all those things, what I can do, I can calculate what is the number of the carriers, that is value of N can be calculated, right? So this is the expression for your carrier concentration. I hope you should not have any problem in this. Now let us see what is the Hall coefficient, right? So same type of the figure again I have taken where the current is flowing from right hand side to left hand side, as you can see over here, and the electron and positive charge has got separated, right? And then electric field is getting developed. So this is the value of the electric field which is getting developed, right? And because of this electric field, a voltage is getting developed, and that voltage is called your Hall voltage. So in a semiconductor, when a moving charge are subjected to the magnetic field, electrons and holes are separated by opposite forces. They will in turn produce an electric field EH, which depends on the cross product of the magnetic field intensity, and the current density. This is what the Hall said. So what he said, EH is directly proportional to the cross product of the current density and the magnetic field. The electric field that is getting developed is directly proportional to cross product of the current density and the value of the magnetic field that we have applied. So proportionality constant here is your RH. RH is nothing, this is your proportionality constant, right? Where RH is called the Hall coefficient. RH is defined as the Hall field generated in the material per unit magnetic field supplied when a current density is unity. Naturally the J value is going to be 1, so RH is equal to EH upon B, right? So this is what has been written over here. So RH equal to, just I have rearranged this, what we can say, EH upon BJ. What is this? Because as you know, this value they are perpendicular to each other. So sine 90 degrees, sine 90 equal to 1. So what we can say, RH equal to EH upon JB or BJ, whatever you want, you can say. Now this EH upon B is called your drift velocity. EH upon B is called your drift velocity, right? So what we require to do, you substitute the value of J over here, and let's do the further calculation. The current density J can be expressed in terms of the concentration of the carriers, that is N, and their drift velocity. And what we know that J equal to Ne into Vd. This expression we understand in case of any conductor or semiconductor. For P type of the semiconductor, RH equal to, now here you substitute the value, RH equal to EH upon BJ, and J value you have calculated. Let us suppose here this is your equation number 2. Let us suppose temporarily I am putting this as equation number 2, and this I have taken as equation number 1. This is the equation number 1 that I have taken, right? So in the equation number 1, I am just substituting the value of J, right? So value of the J has been substituted over there. So what we are writing now, EH upon B, we know EH upon B is your nothing, this is your drift velocity. So this here I have taken the drift velocity, and the value of J equal to Ne into Vd. So drift velocity will cancel each other, and Hall coefficient will equal to minus 1 upon Na, and Hall coefficient can be directly calculated by doing the experiment, because as we know the electric field is directly proportional to your current density and the magnetic field. So if I am able to experimentally calculate what is the value of your Hall coefficient, you see here what is the value of your Hall coefficient, right? Then I can calculate what is the value of the charge carriers. So minus I have taken because it is your n type, right? So the charge carriers can be calculated, and we can also find out whether it's your n-type semiconductor or it's a p-type semiconductor, because if the value of the Hall coefficient is coming negative, it does mean it is your n-type, and if it is coming positive, then it does mean p-type. Similarly for we are taking for the p-type, since the Hall field perpendicular to the negative y direction, so for a p-type semiconductor, RH will be positive, and it is given by RH equal to EH upon Bj. Again EH upon B we are taking as the dip velocity, and J value again we have substituted over there. So what I am getting? We are getting 1 upon P. Since this value is your positive, so what we mean that we can calculate the charge carriers, right? And what type of the semiconductor it is, whether it's a n-type semiconductor or p-type semiconductor, both the things can be calculated very easily. So this is your Hall effect. So now let us see whatever we have discussed. Same thing I have summarized in my next slide, right? Therefore, what we can say that the Hall effect can be used to directly calculate the charge carriers, the number of the charge carriers that is getting developed or that is available in your specimen, right? Whether it's a conductor or the semiconductor, or when it's a intrinsic semiconductor or extrinsic semiconductor. Even we can also find out what type of the semiconductor it is, whether it's a n-type semiconductor or p-type semiconductor, because the moment we have calculated the Hall coefficient, and the value of the Hall coefficient is equal to minus 1 upon Ne for your n-type and 1 upon P for your p-type. So we can also calculate what is the charge carriers directly by performing the experiment. So this is the one of the major outcome of your Hall effect. So my friends, in this way we have completely finished your chapter 2 in your module 5, and now one small chapter is left, that is your dielectric. So that I am going to start from the next class. Thank you very much.